This is INCRadio, DZEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
You're listening to INC Radio.
Broadcasting live from Chicago, Illinois. DZEM 954 AM station. Here to bring you great conversations about faith, people, places, culture, and recent events all around the district. Join us on YouTube at INCradio.org. Hello, Northern Midwest and the rest of the world. It's time to get this show started.
Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of INC Radio Northern Midwest. Thank you for tuning in with us today. Of course, we encourage everyone not just to listen, but also, share your comments, greetings there. And if there's any upcoming activities in your locale that you want us to give mention, just put them there in the live chat. So, and birthday greetings and anniversaries that you want to shout out. Just put them there in in the live chat. And actually, speaking of greetings and like reminders for birthdays, one thing that has reminded me of like people's birthdays mostly has been social media. I feel like that's just sort of been where I've been getting my news. Or like, oh, it's so and so's birthday today. Thank you for reminding me. Not sponsored Facebook. Yeah, thank you for reminding. So that's kind of like what we were going to be talking about today. Our social media, habits, our thoughts on like the effects on social media. So I want to hear your thoughts as well there in our live chat. So Tony, I want to ask you, how much time do you spend browsing social media in, let's say, in a day?
Oh no, we're doing screen time review. I don't have a hard number that I can think of, but probably more than I should. I have been more conscious of it lately. It's been one of the things that I've been working on towards the tail end of 2024 going into 2025 that we are now. Um, I would say it's still up in a few hours because it's weird that the phone registers even YouTube as like a social media. So I don't know. I feel like I spend a lot of time on YouTube, but then maybe like an hour or so on Instagram. Again, not sponsored, but yeah, different things. I don't spend time on Facebook like ever.
Well, do you consider YouTube to be social media?
It can be because everybody's socializing there in the live chat right now.
That's true.
Hi everyone who's commenting away there. So I think it can be, but typically what I watch, the only time I really socialize is when I'm listening to INC radio. When I'm watching other videos, not so much.
Mm.
I'm just consuming at that point. Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned YouTube because that has been like one of the things that I'm trying to change here, in 2025 is like ever since the introduction of like YouTube Shorts, I've been like I've been mindlessly scrolling. Like sometimes I'll catch myself mindlessly scrolling through like YouTube Shorts and like, oh wait, what time is it already? Especially
Doom
so
scroll.
yeah, endless scrolling on YouTube. I know, like the other social media platforms, they have their own versions of that where you can see. Yeah, I mean with stuff like again that's with stuff like like Facebook, Instagram. It's more like your friends, right? Your
Mhm.
friends, but with YouTube, it's just whatever the algorithm kind of like pushes your way. That's like what you end up seeing and interacting with. So just in terms of just in terms of like habit, like what usually catches your attention when you're maybe scrolling through social media? What's like that one thing that makes you go, oh and like makes you actually read the article, or watch, the video that's like posted.
That's a hard question, EJ. There's a lot. I wouldn't say it's one singular thing that catches my attention. Everyone in Team Live Chat, feel free to answer that question because I'm having a tough time. Like, what catches your attention on social media? It's
Mhm.
weird because my usage now for social media is not even so much as communicating with friends necessarily. I feel like it's more for entertainment as opposed
Mhm.
to its original purpose, which was to kind of connect with one another. There are times where I like that I can be able to see what's going on with my friends, but more often than not, I like to message them and kind of see what they're up to personally, as opposed to using social media to kind of see what's going on with them. Because even for me, in terms of not just being a consumer, but even a poster, there are some things that I do post on social media that are I would say significant events, but most of the time when I share stuff, it is more personally now as opposed to publicly. Like there are nice photos that I like to share. She's like, oh, this is nice. Like let's share this with everyone. Um, but in terms of what catches my eye, I don't really go looking for stuff. I feel like my feed is very curated to stuff about music, anything with animals, um, and then just like memes, I guess, or like TV shows or movies that I'm into at the moment. Yeah, that's what I can think of in terms of what catches my attention. Stuff that's entertaining. Yeah.
You
Stuff
mentioned TV shows because that's like I've discovered like a lot of the TV shows I watch now from like scrolling through social media and seeing like a clip from like a show. Just in terms of like what catches my attention, I feel like that's one of the things that catch my attention. It's like even if I'm not interested in the show, I'm like, well, let's see what this clip is like. It's like this clip should be good. It should be so good that someone made the effort to make a clip of it. So I'm gonna see what it's about.
It influences you in that way, right? It can be a big influence. I have to say, whether it's like what you just mentioned in terms of TV shows or movies,
Mhm.
music, even food. I feel like there are moments where food will come up on my feed, and I'll save it, thinking. Shout out to my mom because she does the same thing. She saves the food, thinking that, oh yeah, we'll make that, and then we don't. But we're just quietly wishing in our heads that yeah, we will. We'll make that one time. So even down to food, I feel like it influences the stuff that you might want to try. Yeah,
Thing is though, it keeps track of like what you watch a lot of.
true.
So like even just watching like that one clip from that show, and then the next thing you know, like as you're scrolling down, oh, here's another clip of that show. Here's another clip of that show.
Yep.
Oh, have you checked out this? Have you checked out this? This show that's like similar to that.
Yeah.
You you just saw. It's like it kind of like snowballs, and I feel like sometimes I watch TV shows through like social media where I'm like watching and watching like clips from you know because again the algorithm kind of just pushes like, oh, like this you like interacting with this, so let's give you a lot more of that, and that can be dangerous, especially so
Mhm.
you like especially with screen time, because you're interacting it, you're interacting with it. Then before you know it, you're like, and this has been me. You're like, oh, it's been 2 hours. It's been 2 hours since my alarm rang, and I was supposed to be up 2 hours ago. I was supposed to get out of bed 2 hours ago, but
Whoops. Yeah, it's not just for that in terms of time, EJ, but like what you were mentioning. I feel like if even if you just like a post once, and you might even do it accidentally, you won't even realize that you did it, and then all of a sudden you get the same of this thing over and over again. You're like, but then that's all you end up seeing, and then you're like, oh, is this what I want to be seeing like every single time? Like, no, not really. So it's always good to kind of just take
Curious.
breaks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
take
to tell
breaks.
yourself.
That's a good word to use. Take breaks from social media, and like building that habit, right? To
Mhm.
like for me, I know the habit that I need to build now is to not check my phone as soon as I wake up. Usually I'll check it for like messages that I may have received like overnight, like from people, and just like trying to reply to those. But before I know it, since I'm holding my phone, I'll be like, I'll especially in your phone, you see like, you see the icon for like the social media, and then there's like a number next to it. You're like, oh, someone messaged me or it recommended me this one thing that like. Have you ever gotten that suggestion? You're like, oh, we think you might like this post. you know?
I try to turn that stuff off actually, EJ. Because there was a point where it was like that, and I just remember having to constantly clear, like you know how you can do the clear all, like clear all and just removing all the notifications. It gets overwhelming. It gets overwhelming, especially if you're on messaging platforms. So I try to silence or like to disable the notifications so that I actually have to go into the app to see what's happening. Otherwise I won't get notified. The stuff that stays on for me is like calls. Like people know that if they need to reach me, they it's an emergency, they'll call me, and that's usually typically what happens anyway. But yeah, for Instagram, Facebook, nope. I don't see anything
You
until I'm
disable
there.
like the pop-up
Yeah,
notifications.
until I'm there, until I'm actually looking at it, there in like the series of messages, like, oh, I got a reel again from so and so. Like reels, I feel like is the popular thing now, to whether you're on Facebook or Instagram or even like TikTok. Again, not sponsoring, but yeah, all that stuff, the quick videos, I feel like is how we communicate now. Is another way of communicating with people.
No, honestly, I have like a backlog of like memes that I haven't looked at yet from my friends, and if you're watching, I'm sorry, I haven't looked at them yet. I've been trying to I've been trying to lessen my screen time. That's why I haven't looked at them yet. Because sometimes, and then again, I'm not blaming my friends here. Sometimes I'll wake up and there's just like 30 plus memes that's been sent. And I'm like, I don't have the time to really react to all of them. So,
I wait for downtime, and that's when I know, like I'll go through one by one and I will react to them just so they know that I've seen it. But I wait till I'm in a a time block where, like, okay, right now I can do this, and I just catch up on all of the. It's a way of love. I feel like it's like a subtle way of love. It is fun, but sometimes overwhelming. So you just have to be careful, the balance.
yeah, that's the thing. And just actually, just speaking on like the things about like social media, it's like when you are interacting with like the posts that you see, does it kind of like affect your mood too? Like let's say, like let me give an example. Like like maybe you see a post from like an old classmate that, oh, so and so is getting married. Like does that affect like your mood for like the day?
I try not to let it. In the past it has not just what's the word? Not just achievements, I guess, or milestones from other people, but even just like seeing what people are up to, like if they're hanging out with, certain friends, or if they're going to certain places like concerts or whatever. Like sometimes you get that twinge of, oh, like I want that too, but then, I try now to be more conscious of it and kind of let myself know, like, hey, do you really want to be affected by that thing? It's like, you know I don't want my mood to be ruined because of a social media post, or because of feeling of like FOMO, or or whatever it may be. Like it's definitely normal. I've seen it a lot. It happens to a lot of people, but it's good to be self-aware, I think, in that way, to catch yourself in those moments. Like, oh, you don't have to be sad about that thing. Jomo, the joy of missing out. I think that's the opposite. Shout out to the show. I don't think they coined that, but they did talk about it on the Next Level You. I think they talk about that a lot on the Next Level You. Jomo, joy of missing out. Yeah.
I need to figure out what that what an example of what a Jomo is, but but I like I've been that I know I've been the person who's like, oh, they're hanging out. They didn't. Why didn't they invite me? You're like, oh, they went out to eat. Ah, they didn't mention that to me. I've been that. I know. I've been that person. I've been that person, and just the way that it's affected me for like the rest of the day. Like it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling. And like and one of the things is like that fear of like like fear of missing out. Like
Mhm.
it plays such like a huge effect on like like how you can feel for like the days. And social media is a very it's a very big contributor to you like feeling like you're missing out, especially not, again, like I said, not just in achievements, but just seeing people like hanging out, seeing people going places, like especially your friends. Like for me, and like my classmates from from like high school and stuff, I've sort of muted notifications from like their posts because like like seeing their posts about like oh like seeing my friends getting married, and like seeing one of them like starting their their businesses, that it does make me feel sometimes that I'm oh, I'm being left behind. I don't have that, I don't have this. It makes me think of the things that I don't have, and not in a good way, not in a good way. So like you, I've been trying to not let it not let it affect how I feel, or like my mood for the rest of the day. Even though it means that I would interact with social media less, I try to do that.
What I tried to do also, EJ, is like kind of reframe, because when you think about social media, most of the time people aren't posting every moment of their life.
And
They're
that's
not posting every single thing that's happening to them, and maybe the stuff that they're posting is the stuff that makes them happy, and being able to be grateful to even see that, be like, oh yeah, like they're enjoying, like I'm glad that they're able to do that, even if that's something like going to a concert, for example, like being able to see your friends happy doing that, even though like you may not be able to. It's something that might not be the immediate reaction, but it's something that you can do intentionally, like being happy for other people in that way. It's just a little bit of a reframe. And I
mm,
think that's also true for other stuff like trends. When there's things that you see people doing, like the different dances, right? Like not sponsored, but like the TikTok dances, like people always jump on the bandwagon of like, oh, we have to do that thing. Oh, we have to do this reel. You hear that all the time. People want to copy these different things, and it's like, well, you can be a part of stuff that is not like wholesome, right? That is not, you know.
it's not
You have to kind of, you have
necessary.
to ask yourself, like, if you want to be a part of that. Like going back to that idea of FOMO, was like, is that something that you want to, jump into? Is that something that is important to you? Seeing that happen on social media, like just because it's there, doesn't make it something that's okay all the time, right? There are things that are harmless, but there are other things that you kind of have to sit and think twice, or more than twice, but at least twice before, twice is the minimum before, that's the absolute minimum before doing anything. So I just wanted to add that last part, because I feel like the power of social media um with what catches on,
Mhm.
it can influence the way that we become, and the way that we conduct ourselves in the world. So
And actually, just going off of that, like, and this is my last question to you. How have you seen like social media sort of like affect kind of like the day to day of like just people in general? How do you think it's affected maybe like expectations that people have with friendships, relationships, or maybe just in the way that we communicate now, you know
that's such a question. To all of your questions are stuff to um to unpack, EJ. I don't think we have enough time to do it in a half hour show. But what I will say is there's always going to be good and bad aspects to it. You won't always have something that's kind of like clean across the board because it's always up to how people use it.
It's a tool. Yeah.
It's a tool. Like the social media in itself is not a bad thing. What makes it bad is how we interact with it, the ways that we choose to interact with it, the ways that we allow ourselves to interact with it. Because if you have that self-awareness, you can kind of catch yourself on things that you might be doing mindlessly, like what you mentioned earlier, the doom scroll. That's something that, having that self-awareness to kind of catch yourself like, oh, I've already spent 1 hour on social media. Or even in the sense of when it comes to relationships, every time I go to a place of gathering, whether it's a coffee shop or there's like a group hangout or whatever, all I see is everybody like this. They're like, oh, then they're showing each other stuff on reels, and that's okay too. But most of the time, you kind of just see them like looking down on their phone. So things to kind of practice is just asking yourself, what kind of relationship do you want with this? What kind of relationship do you want with this, and how much of it do you want to affect your life? How much of it do you want to affect you? Whether it's your moods, whether it's the habits that you have daily, like for example, how much are you going to allow your phone to distract you throughout the workday, or when you're doing your homework? That's why I'm big on not having notifications on anymore, because I used to just constantly, every time the phone went off, I would go to grab it and see what's going on, right? Because you don't want, it's that you don't want to miss what's happening, or you don't want to be left behind, I guess, in that sense of like, oh, I need to see it now. It kind of it breeds this instantaneous thing that we need to have it now. We need to see like what's going on. So I try to be careful with that, in that sense. But social media is also great in the idea that it allows people to connect all over the world. Like I can talk to my family in Australia, that I would not have been able to do before. I would have to write a letter and wait X amount of days, possibly months, before it arrives to update them what's going on with my life. But now you can make a phone call and video call with people, and they can be in a different time zone. It can be 1 a.m. for them, and it could be like 7 p.m. for you, but you're able to connect with these people. But it's really like on us. It's on us. It's not the feed that is, dangerous. It's on us, because you can control what you're looking at and what you're filtering, in terms of your social media. You can control who you follow. You can control how much time that you're spending on it. But again, it just goes back to self-awareness. So, you could be in public, and I think we were mentioning about this before the show. You can choose to like spend the whole time taking videos of everything that's around you versus, being able to actually look at the people who are with you and enjoying that time. But that's going to be up to you. There's no here nor there, because some people would want to blog it, as they say, because that's memories for them. But then other people might not want to be so attached to the device, because they want to actually have that FaceTime with their family. So it's on us, really, at the end of the day. We are the ones responsible for how we are with social media. That's what's beyond the feed, I would say.
That is a perfect cutoff, or a perfect what do you call a quote for this for the show. And like you said, yes, it is. You said it is up to us. How we let social media affect us. So let's be mindful, of how we use it, how we interact with this tool we call social media, which is actually what our our CSD department has chose to teach us for our This Is Your Sign for this week.
This is your sign.
Hi everyone, my name is Ivan Kura. I am the acting president of the CSD, or the Christian Society for the Deaf. And on behalf of me, as well as my fellow members in the CSD, we want to wish all of you a Happy New Year. And to start things off for this new year, we're going to start out with our first sign for This Is Your Sign. So it would be social media. And we're going to do it in two ways. We're going to do it the easy way, and we're going to do it the harder way. So let's start out with the easier way. The easiest way is literally just to sign the letters S and M, which represents the word social media. So let's start things off by taking your dominant hand just like this. You're going to curl your four fingers into your fist and your palm of your hand just like this. And with your thumb, you're going to bring it to the front, just like this. That's the letter S. And then to shape the letter M, you're going to keep your thumb where it's at, but have three fingers, so your index finger, your middle finger, and your ring finger. Bring them together just like this, and you're going to curl it over on top of your thumb just like this to represent the letter M. So, social media. That's one sign. The other sign, you're going to sign the word social and then hand spell the word media. It would go something like this. So for social, you're going to take your non-dominant hand and hang it just like this. So on the side view, it'll look like this. And then for your dominant hand, it's going to go slightly in front just like this. And then on the side view, it'll look like that. Okay? And then when you're signing it, you're actually going to have your fingers separated like this. And then what you're going to do is just rotate it around just like this. And then here's what it's like on the side view. This is the word social. And then to sign the word media, again, we're just going to hand spell the word. So just like with the letter M from earlier to represent the word media, we're going to take our three fingers, bring them together over your thumb, just like that. And then for the letter E, what you're going to do, take your four fingers here, bring them to your palm, and curl your thumb to the palm of your hand as well. This is the letter E. The letter D, you're going to stick your index finger out, and you're going to have your other fingers sticking out just like this, like you're making hand puppet. So this is the letter D. The letter I, simple, you're just going to stick your pinky out, just like that. And then the letter A, sort of like what we did with the letter S, only except instead of the front, you're going to stick your thumb out to the side, just like this. That will represent the letter A. So, again, to spell the word slowly, M, E, D, I, A. We're all together, social, M, E, D, I, A, media. So now you know how to sign both ways of social media. Thank you so much for joining us in our first ever This Is Your Sign for the year, and we hope to see you next week for another segment of This Is Your Sign. Have a good one. Thank you.
This is your
Yay! Thanks, Brother Ivan. Always awesome to see the Christian Society for the Deaf, what they do for the American Sign Language. Very, very cool. I just want to give a shout out also to, because involving the recent activities that we've had here in the District of Great Lakes, we did have our booklet night last December 29th, and for some, it was on December 30th. I do see some of the brethren from the local congregation of Detroit who did help host that. So shout out to you, everyone who's tuning in. I did see Brother Tony and Brother Vaughn, the head deacons of Detroit there. So shout out to you there. And a lot of the different locales that are tuning in today. Shout out to all of you. I saw Louisville, Bloomingdale. I saw a lot of Chicago, Rockford, Grand Rapids. I'm sorry if I missed your names. There's so many. And speaking of all of those, we do want to mention the names from last week that won. Firstly, the honorable mentions from outside of our district, Brother Nathaniel Russell, who is tuning in with us today from Fort Worth, Texas, to Manang Flo, Sister Flo Guillermo. I'm so sorry, Manang, from Oregon. And then Brother Mario Oka, who's tuning in from the Philippines. I know it's very late for you there, so thanks for tuning in with us. Fourth place, the individual is Brother Hera from Bloomingdale. Third for individual is Sister Aleli Romero. And then the second for local congregation is Grand Rapids. And individual was Sister Rachel Lynn Weiser. And first was the local of Bloomingdale with individual Brother Abel C. Romero. So thank you so much to everyone who's been tuning in with us today. We hope that you benefited from our broadcast. And again, shout out to everyone who's tuning in there in the live chat. I'm so sorry if we missed any locales. I think I saw Chicago North as well. Thank you to everyone, and Sterling Heights, of course. Shout out to Sterling Heights. Congratulations to everyone, as well as those who will be celebrating their anniversaries this month. For Ashtabula in Ohio, it's January 9th. It's 2023. It's 2 years. And for Northern Plains, it's Oskaloosa, Iowa, GWS, which is they were established January 21st, 2008, 17 years. So amazing things going on. Of course, before we close out the show, I do want to give a special thanks to our Great Lakes Assistant District Minister, Brother Arthur P. Agag, and to our District Minister, Brother Elmer A. Sarmiento, and to our Northern Plains District Minister, Brother Elmer Parungao, and to the rest of the district staff. And a very special thanks, of course, to our INC radio station manager, Brother Wally Taray, to our Subseed President and CFO Coordinator, Brother Angel Arano V. Manalo, and of course, to our Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. Everyone go out there and be phenomenal and hope to see you again same time next week on INC Radio in the Northern Midwest. Take care, everyone. Be mindful on social media and have fun. Wholesome.